Morning at Mid-Ohio gives way to afternoon on a beautiful Saturday in August. Welcome back to GRIDLIFE Mid-Ohio Meet and Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, one of the longest running tracks on GRIDLIFE's calendar. Year number 7 with GRIDLIFE, year number 5 for GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer joined by Greg Creamer for the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup Top 10 Shootout, where we take the top 10 result finishers from race 2 and we re-qualify them in a one-lap sprint to reset the top 10 for race number 3 later today.
Yeah, and this has such great history in so many ways. For me, this is my debut here with the this fabulous series in GRIDLIFE a few years ago, and it has just been an absolutely fabulous place. And the one thing we know is the racing here is excellent, but when it comes time for this top 10 shootout, racing is about speed and strategy, so sometimes speed has to be reduced a little bit. This shootout, it's about speed under pressure.
Speed under pressure. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Coverage of GRIDLIFE Midsummer Meet is brought to you by Hyundai N. Hyundai N, never just drive. And Falcon, the official tire of GRIDLIFE Track Battle. Let's have a look at our 2.25 mile course that we'll be competing on here today. Greg, built in the 1960s. It hasn't changed fundamentally all that much. There is a slight difference after corner number 9 of this 13-turn track, but it's fast, it's flowing, and it is consequential in some places.
It is. It's very much a driver's track. You see that run from the exit of turn 1, that long left-hander that's about center screen, down into the keyhole. That is the those two straights are critical. The back straight out of the keyhole all the way to 4, that's your high speed run. But the rest of this track is very much a very twisty, curvy elevation, sudden changes and drops. It is technical. It is a driver's track, and every driver loves it here. And as you can see, there are these little moments where the track drops or rises, and you've got to be on your game. And in qualifying, you've got to extract every bit of performance out of the car and what the track's going to give you.
While we have more time attack left here this weekend, this is very much a time attack competition within our 4-race format here for the race weekend. This is one lap. The podium sprint later today is a 2-lap sprint. For the time attack guys, for GLTC, they just get one. So you have to nail it on your first and only try. There's no do-overs, no undo reset. Yep. You have to nail it now. But I guess the one saving grace is that the worst you can do is 10th. So that's as bad as you're going to start in race 3, regardless of what happens, provided you don't have a mechanical problem that would prevent you from starting.
Yeah, the real trick here, and this is the very difficult thing in any form of motorsport, is to get to that limit fast, but don't exceed it. Just stay on that limit all the way around the track, because if you exceed it and the car slides, you're going to lose too much time. And if you never get to the limit, there are guys out there who will, and you're not going to be up front either. So, and again, I mean, all eyes, one car at a time. We get to follow it. All the fans get to follow it. This is a pretty cool moment here.
It's a cool moment. Look at that paddock here, Greg. We have to make a big thank you also to all the partners and people that make GRIDLIFE possible. NOS is here with their activation. Falcon, Toyo, Advanced Auto Parts, Valvoline, and so many more that have come together to make this possible. And also big thanks to Sunoco as well, the official fuel of GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. It's great to have them on board with us. Of course, the winner of each weekend gets a Sunoco flag as well to hang that up on the wall with the big Sunoco logo, just like NASCAR. It's real cool. So big thanks to them as well. Big news, though, coming into this race. You'll notice the 10 drivers that are gridded up here for the top 10 shootout, and we do them slowest to fastest, or I guess the top 10 to the first place driver from race 2. The tail of this row here is James Houghton. Well, Greg, he was second coming to the finish line, but he is awarded with first because for the second time this weekend, the winner, Matan Rosenberg, blew the dyno by 0.8 horsepower, or an equivalence of 11 pounds.
Yeah, just to clarify, for those of you joining us, it wasn't Matan's second time he was DQ'd.
Right.
It was the second time a winner was DQ'd. Yesterday, it was Paul Curley, also ironically in a Corvette. Paul's was a little bit more egregious yesterday, and none of it's intentional. You just sort of miss, your weight, versus horsepower target a little bit. But 0.8, but a rule's a rule, and that's how it plays out here. And so as a result, like you said, James Houghton, we said he was going to win. I know he'd rather have won it straight up on the track, but he got one here, and that means he'll qualify last here, which means the pressure is on for him.
Yeah, it really is. And James Houghton is the only other driver to win a race this season, or to win a round this weekend. But one of the other drivers that's new to the podium, the top 10 shootout for this race, this round, is Paul Darling. I caught up with him this morning.
Here with Paul Darling, driver of the number 55 BMW M3. Paul, you've been in GLTC for a couple of years now, but finally you've got a car that rewards your driving skill. So excited to see you up in the top 10 there in race number 1. How's it been to drive a car that's got a little bit more pace in it?
It's hard when you've got a car that can't compete and you're still driving it to the limit. You're doing the best you can with it, but it's good to finally be in something that I feel like I can use my skills a little bit better with. I still have a lot of stuff to sort out on the car as far as setup goes, make it actually turn, but it's a BMW issue, I think. It's been a lot of fun this weekend.
It's been a lot of fun to watch Paul Darling in that BMW M3 purchased from West Case, so it'll stay in the GLTC community, and it's running up inside the top 10.
Yeah, it's so good to see Paul Darling in a car that is better rewarding his skill as a driver. And Paul is one of my favorite people to talk to in the paddock. Even when he's having a bad day, he's wincing through a smile. He's always fun to watch. But we have this top 10 shootout to get covered here, Greg, and the first car on track is going to be the number 2 of Eric Meadows. He'll be the first driver on course to requalify himself into race number 3. This is a relatively new build. He previously ran a Duratec Swap NC Miata. This Corvette is new as of Watkins Glen earlier this year.
And this outlap here is really critical. All these guys have been around here now a few times. They've had a practice, qualifying 2 races. That's not the issue. What he has to do here is make sure that by the time he goes into the carousel, he's got the tires and brakes properly up to temp so that the setup on the car responds to the pressure in those tires, and he can really let it fly here. And you find out pretty quick once you start that flyer if you haven't really hit that target. We're going to find out now. And look how he diamonds that carousel. That is really smart. When you're on a qualifying lap to start it, you want to diamond that, turn hard, get on the throttle really early, and this lap is underway, Kyle.
Yeah, down into turn 1, and here he goes in this Corvette into the first corner. Nicely balanced so far here. The tires screeching just a little bit. Uses some of that extra curbing that they just added, that red concrete section on the run up to the keyhole now. The exits of the corners is where this Corvette is going to find pace. You see him kind of cheat over to the right a little bit, setting up a slightly different line into that 180-degree turn 2.
Yeah, when you turn in a little early like that, usually you open it up about mid-corner, then you get back to the apex, get to the throttle, because this is the longest, fastest section of this track. And again, if you could pick the throttle up a little bit sooner, when you've got horsepower and torque out of these V8s to launch you down here, that's going to be key. Now, the problem is these cars run a little heavier. You can't overshoot here in turn 4.
Down into turn 4, nicely done. Maybe a bit tentative, perhaps, leaving a bit on the line. The challenge is you don't get a banker in. This is your lap. You have to go quick now. But again, the worst you can do is 10th. And because of Matan Rosenberg's disqualification, he was the last driver to kind of get pipped in. So finished 11th in the race, but promoted to 10th with that disqualification. And while we're talking about it, Matan's entire family is here, and he wanted to make sure that that they got some recognition. The family and friends that have come out to see him race, look to watch him from the back of the field in race number 3.
Well, the way he's been driving, he should be spectacular coming up through the field here. And now up through turn 11, really tricky corner, used every bit of track. Really nice line through there. That's what you want. Now you're going to not diamond this car. And you see how much closer he is there, because now he wants to run the shortest distance through that corner. Get on the throttle here. Let's see what happens for a time as he crosses the line. A 140.258 for Mr. Meadows.
Not a terrible lap. I do think we're going to see some laps that are a bit quicker than that, though, so we'll see what's up next. But the next car on track is the number 99 of Ronnie Vidoc. I mentioned earlier in the day that he missed Road America after initially planning on being there, but he is here now and ready to give this Acura Integra. By the way, a beautiful race car build, almost factory inside. Give it its first run here in the top 10 shootout.
It's pretty. That's the only way to put it. It is really sharp, and it's quick. And with the front wheel drive on this, he should be able to really hustle it. Oftentimes the front wheel drive, after a few laps, those tires are asked to do everything, and they will overheat. Using every bit of the racetrack there, that's what you have to do. Commit, use every bit of this track. Now, folding it into the keyhole once again, you see him arc out just a little bit there. Going to get it rotated. You hear it pick up the throttle really early.
Now down the back straightaway here, revving up this engine. And this originally started life, this is a DC2 front end now, but it originally started with the different nose that the Integra originally came on, and they completely took this car apart and rebuilt it basically from the ground up in the off-season. It's a great build. It's quick. They have been dealing with some problems with it, though, and it's finally running well. We'll see if he can put it to the test here. Working his way through turns 4 and 5. Nice line here. Looks really well balanced, Greg.
Yeah, you saw him clip that curb, and then he went right to throttle, so that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to use the throttle a little bit in those short shoots. Now, this is critical here. You got to get it rotated through 7. Here's the key run now, up through 8. Did that absolutely perfectly. Now, watch the exit at 9. Drops off a lot right there. Out onto the red, but not over it. Looking really good here. Now folding it in. This is turn 10, and now this critical blind approach into 11. You got to turn it in and get it just right. Not bad. Maybe left a little bit of track on the table here. Now just feeding it through this final corner, Kyle.
Yeah, working on a timing issue right now. But on the display side here, we'll let you know what it's going to be for Ronnie Viaduct across the stripe, and it is going to be faster, a 1:37.708, which is about 2 or 3 seconds quicker than Eric Meadows. So that is a pretty good lap, as now Gary Wimble is up next in the number 1.
Yeah, and you noted that that Meadows just looked a little tentative on the brakes down into turn 4. You can't leave anything on the table here. And we're going to see what Wimble's got in store here as he is coming up to complete his outlap. And watch for him, as I've been talking about. You see, you don't need to get all the way over there. Now you want to diamond this. Get way, way out there. You can even, there he does. Yep. Now turn it and squeeze. Get that big V8 humping here onto the front straight, starting his lap, Kyle.
Here he goes, off into turn 1. Goes the number 1 of Gary Wimble. Another driver, just like Luke McGrew and Eric Meadows, that have transitioned from Duratec Swap MX-5 from the NC generation, switching to this Corvette platform, and they have found speed. And Gary has had a bunch of top 10s this season, has run really well, and this will be a great shot to start up on those front 2 rows if he can find a little bit to get here in this session.
You see, he used a little wider line into the keyhole, so he's just doing more of a late apex than a diamond. As long as he gets to the throttle soon and didn't get rid of too much speed going in, he's still got a really good run going here at this stage.
Down the back straightaway here, his speed's north of 125, maybe 130. Better than that in the draft, but without any cars on track right now, likely a 130 to 132 top speed. Nice line through turn 4. And these Corvettes, they're so composed, Greg, and the advantage they have is they're very slippery shape. Even with the downforce that's added with that rear wing, they are really efficient vehicles from a drag perspective.
Yeah, they're slippery and they're well balanced, so you can hustle them quite a bit. Up and over the rise there in 8. And now setting up for this really, really tricky turn 9. And he gets over the rise there, uses the exit. That looked pretty good. It looks really, really smooth, and sometimes smooth you can't tell. Is it fast? And he's just really, really easy on things, or is it just a little bit too slow? We're about to find out, but he's driven. The lines here have been absolutely spot on, Kyle.
Yeah, looking really good. Very solid lap for Gary Wimble in the number 1 across the stripe. And what will it be? A 1:38.548. So slots between Meadows and Ronnie Viaduct.
Well, a good, solid run there, but, you always have to find something here. And now we get to hear from the guy that we heard from in your interview with Paul Darling. And I love what he said. Yeah, just have to work a little bit to try and get the car to turn, because that's kind of important out there. But, man, has he been putting on a really good show, and you can see now just what kind of skill set he has.
Yeah, excited to watch this lap for Paul Darling. Off into turn 1. Here he goes, looking very well balanced so far through the first corner. Squeeze on power, run out, use all the road, every inch of it.
That was pretty. That was pretty. Use every piece of racetrack that you're allowed to use here. On board now, down into the keyhole, feeding it in, trail braking in a little bit to get. Now you come off of that trail brake, get the car to rotate a little bit, and get on that throttle.
Nicely done, and long gearing in this car as well. It's got the torque to push through it, and less shifting means you can go real fast. So down the back straightaway here, this is where this car again will be good, just like the Corvettes. Cornering, as Paul joked earlier, maybe not this car's strong suit, but I think it's Paul's strong suit.
I think it's Paul's strong suit, and these cars are always good on braking, and so you can use that to good effect as well. Up and over the rise at Madness. Looks great there, Kyle.
It looks very well balanced, and I think this is going to be a pretty quick lap for Paul. Without any distraction, nobody around him forcing him to take a different line. That M3 ringing through the hills here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and then up turn 9, little off there.
Wide there.
But kept a foot in it and carried good speed.
And part of that was he overshot the exit of 8 just a smidge, and he had to actually get up on the exit curb at 8. And that makes it a little tougher to get turned down into 9.
Ooh,
just drops the rights there. He is pushing so hard. That was the exit of 11. We talk about how tricky it is. And the question is how did those 2 moments, what kind of momentum did they steal from him as he comes up to complete the lap?
Well, none. Top of the board, 137.422, half a second better than Ronnie Vidoc. That's a really good lap for Paul Darling.
Yep, and I bet you had he not run wide over there, that could have been 2-3 tenths quicker even. So that just gives you an idea of what Paul is able to do when he's got the right kind of car underneath him. That's great to see.
Next up is James Cathers, his first ever showing in the GLTC Top 10 Shootout. I believe this is only his second ever GLTC event, and this is a really good showing for him across the start-finish line. And they call him Captain because he is a commercial pilot and is a captain. So he's going to work right now, taking flight in the 129.
Well, he's used to going fast, that's for sure. Just see how it translates onto the road here, and he had a really, really good run in that earlier race today. So showing some really good form. Picking that throttle. Oh, you heard him go to throttle, then he had to lift, and you heard the tires chirp. So he may have turned in a little early and pinched it. And when he went to throttle, it started to push. He had to breathe it for a second. That'll eat up a little bit of time. Let's see now. Can he make that up elsewhere on the track? Nice high shot here. Love this. Into turn 4. And again, you got the banking you can use here.
And through turns 4 and 5, looking good there. That time he was able to commit to throttle at the right moment.
Yep.
Ooh, little slide there into 6. But it kind of kicked out the rear pretty well and got it straightened out to make that run over the rise.
You get that little slide at just the right moment, it can help you actually rotate and transition into the corner. Looking really tidy through here. That's nice. When you use the lower part of that curb, that means you had a nice straight exit out of there. Now, this is the tricky one. Blind approach as it climbs a little hill. Left a little bit. He could have gone a little bit wider on that exit there, so let's see what he puts up for this lap, Kyle.
Yeah, got really on the curb on entry on the left of 11, so kind of shortcut that nicely. Across the stripe, let's see what it is for Cathers. And across the stripe that time through, it is going to be a 137.632, puts him second quick.
A good lap, and there were a couple of moments there that if he hadn't had them, I think that would have been a pole lap for sure. So he's got the capability. Here comes Eric Hertel. And this car, 1, it's just gorgeous. Look at the graphics on this car. And 2, Eric has this thing working ever faster, doesn't he?
Yeah, Austin Hurdle in this 34 out of Richmond, Indiana. Got one of his only podiums he's gotten in his career last week at Road America late in the weekend. Race 4 across the stripe. You mentioned the graphics on it. Metallic pink. On Wednesdays we wear pink, and on Saturdays too sometimes.
Exactly. Down through 1. This is a car that's got usually a really nice blend of power and handling, and really hustled it there through turn 1. Now up to the absolutely crucial keyhole.
On the brakes here, this car, one of the heaviest in the field, 3,600 pounds it scaled at last week at Road America, which makes it one of the heaviest vehicles and therefore one of the most powerful as well. 1,100 pounds heavier than the lightest car in the field here today. Isn't that amazing, Greg?
It is. And the balance in this class is amazing. You heard him when he went to throttle. He never had to lift. It was gentle, and then firm. So he got it rolling earlier. Now, you talk about the weight. You got to slow it down. Just grabs a little of that curb. That gave him a little slide. But you heard him actually go to throttle a little bit. You like to hear that when you come out of 4. You want to accelerate up that hill just a smidge. Really nice through there.
Yeah, had a nice kind of progressive slide, but didn't lose a lot of forward drive with it. It was just on the edge of the grip limit there. Into 9, this one's been challenging. Right to the apex, little bit of slip angle there, Greg, over the crest, but kept speed nicely.
Yeah, as he turned in, the back end rotated just a little bit. And if it's rotation versus big slurred slide, there was a little bit more of a slide as he turned in, and as a result, you can see it rotated so much he didn't get to use all of the track out. So that may have cost him just a little bit here. Let's see what he does. He's coming along to finish this lap.
Here he comes across the stripe, and for Austin Hurdle, top of the board, 136.943.
First driver, sub 137. So even with those little bobbles here and there, he put in a really, really nice lap. Was nice and aggressive. Now, Matt Waldbaum, who it's amazing how fast Matt has become in a relatively short time actually racing.
Yeah, this is only his second full season in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, and last year was in the mix almost every weekend. Had 2 race wins last year. He's got 1 this year so far, and knocking on the door of another one. He's been in the mix all weekend long, and with the disqualifications that we keep getting up front, he's working his way forward and could absolutely be a threat, especially in a session like this where he's got no one in his way. He can set a great lap time and a strong turn 1 for that number 90.
Yeah, really, really good in through there. And, all of these DQs, Kyle, has got to have you pulling your hair out trying to figure out who's leading in terms of the weekend points.
Oh, boy.
Because it keeps shifting. Let's listen. Nice progressive pickup of the throttle. That's what you want to hear. And now into turn 4, Kyle. This has been an area where Matt has been absolutely demonically good.
Yeah, the braking on these ASMS 2000s has historically been great. Think back to Tom O'Gorman the past couple of seasons. He would just demolish everybody in these braking zones. And we saw the same thing with Matt in the previous couple of races. I'd expect the same to be true here as well. Defeating everybody on the brakes and carrying really good speed. And that transition from right to left, something about the way these cars are built, you can just see it snap over and load up that right front, and it just grips the ground like nothing else.
Yep, and it up on the top, pivoted it beautifully there. So, crisp, high-speed shift. Up and over the rise in 8, we can hear it. There he comes, down over 9. Looks like he used up all the track he possibly could there. And here we go, into 11. Really, really crucial to get this one right.
Oh, had to bobble just for a slight moment, but I don't think it hurt him a lot. There's not a bunch of straightaway after that. You're right into another turn.
I think he was just balancing it on the throttle, and that's not always a bad thing. Here he comes. That looked fast.
Cross the stripe for Matt Waldbaum, and top of the board, 136.295. Matt Waldbaum, provisional pole for now.
Yeah, good lap, too. And, I mean, by a bunch, wasn't it, over hurdle? I mean, that's, 7/10 of a second. So that was a really, really stout lap. And now here comes the man, Luke McGrew, who has been so quick and has so much success this year. A lot of people think this could be the quickest car in the series, and Luke wrings everything out of it. Look how much he diamonded that corner. He wants this. He's picking up that throttle hard.
Luke McGrew out of Hurricane, West Virginia, and runs on mean bean and cigarettes. But there's something about Luke that is just, it's just so fun to be around him on track and off. He's always a clean racer and has a couple of wins this season. Got one yesterday with Paul Curley's disqualification, and he comes from a time attack background. When I first joined GRIDLIFE, Luke was driving a Dodge Viper ACR, so a very different car than what he's in now in terms of a 230 horsepower choke down Corvette. But he's going to carry that time attack experience into this top 10 shootout. I'd expect a lot of speed out of this car this lap.
He kind of reminds me of the race car drivers of the 50s and 60s. You know what I mean? Like you said, just having a cigarette and just being super chill and casual and going out and getting after it here. And good approach up in here. You can see the tires protesting, but he never stepped out sideways. So he really had that car on a rail through there.
Another one of these cars that when you look inside it looks like a factory build. Really nice job with fabricating some of the componentry inside and out on this car.
Ooh, wide there.
Ooh, a little bit of a push. But it's a heavier car, and it just doesn't want to make that direction change without all the grip on the left side tires here. I don't think it's going to hurt him that much. Luke's just been rock solid. A Corvette has won a pole for every single round so far this year. So there's never been a qualifying session where a Corvette didn't win it. So with this as being the last Corvette, this is their last opportunity to do so. Here comes McGrew across the stripe. And second place.
I think that little miss in 9 was because when you miss the apex, generally you have to breathe out of it just for a second, otherwise you'll run wide. So you have to breathe out of it just a little bit to get the nose to point again, and that just costs you time. And now Jeremy Swenson coming out here, and of course not only the points leader coming in here, but also a former champion. This guy knows how to get it done. His battles with Tom O'Gorman here last year were the stuff of legend.
Yeah, I guess I lied. This is our last opportunity for a Corvette pole here. And another driver that comes from a time attack background. However, his time attack car back in 2018, 2019 was a Z06 Corvette C5. So he's got a lot of experience with this chassis over the years. 2021 GLTC champion, runner-up last year. Just in the mix every round, every race. A handful of victories so far this year, 8.
Yeah.
And warming up the tires before we go.
I was just going to say, he's the first one we've seen really aggressively work on scrubbing those tires for heat, keeping them clean, getting temperature in the brakes. Here we go. His lap is underway. And Jeremy, when he's on form, is just a joy to watch. Let's see how he looks through turn 1.
Good line through 1.
Yeah.
Nice exit there, and here's a nice onboard shot. Jeremy also, over the offseason last year to this year, completely tore this car apart to build a new roll cage inside. The cage that he bought the car with didn't really fit him very well, so he dismantled the whole thing, built a brand new cage, and he's so much more comfortable in this car now, and that, I think, has transitioned to helping him get better results. When you're comfortable in a race car, Greg, as you know, it makes you faster.
Exactly. Comfort builds confidence. Confidence creates speed. And, yeah, the more comfortable you can be in the car. You can see, once he went to throttle, we had that onboard shot, and he just was unwinding that wheel. Made one little correction, which is okay because you're going to throttle. Whoa! Nice slide there, but that was a power acceleration slide. Nice and tidy up through there, because you don't mind that slide as you fall away at the exit of 4, but you don't want it at the top of 5. This is looking really good.
V8 rumbling over the hill at turn 7 and 8. Pretty comfortable in it, and look, nice tight apex there on the right. Got the tires in the dirt. Used all the curb plus some, Greg.
He was attacking that. Did you see he stayed off of the apex at 8 so that he could get a really wide run into 9. Little side slip there. That just means he's on it. Let's see what happens. Comes into this final corner, the long carousel. This pace, those left side tires. Now, here he comes through the final turn onto the front straight.
Here comes Jeremy Swenson. Across the stripe and to the top, 136.041. Provisional pole for Jeremy Swenson, but there is one more car left to go.
Yeah, James Houghton, and his car really is almost designed for this track. Doesn't use a lot. This track doesn't require a lot of aero. His doesn't have it. That means he can run the car lighter. The car is really agile and responsive. This is going to be fun to see, and listen to the different engine note from what we just heard from those big vets.
Yeah, K24.
Look at how angle that too. Wow.
James, another driver that comes from a time attack background. It's funny how they all kind of find their way into GLTC. Across the stripe, used to driving 800 horsepower Evos and crazy Acura Integras, but into turn 1, his TSX. Power to weight ratio here in GLTC. Nice line through 1, but this car can get pretty wild, especially in some of those slower corners, and he's not afraid to get all of the speed out of it.
No, he gives it some serious welly, no question about that. And you know, your approach in a front drive car is going to be a bit different than in a big rear drive vet. Boy, that sounded nice. He was able to get pretty aggressive to the throttle and just unwound that wheel.
What? The shifts were so fast.
Yeah, crisp.
I mean, all the drivers at this stage, they're all really good at getting through the gears. But when you're that quick, like James Houghton is, it saves that little bit of time on the brakes now into turn 4. Kind of nibbles the curb there at 4.
Quick downshift up to 5. And well, again, I'll tell you, he's driving a tight line. He's not reusing too much racetrack.
Yeah, you leave a little on the exit there of 5 because you're setting up for the right-hander at 6 that has a more important exit, but he left a lot out there.
Yep.
We'll see what it translates to. Into 9, leans on that rumble strip on the left just a touch.
See there, a little bit of rotation, but it's just spot on. Perfect.
He had about half of his tires hanging over the edge of that curb at the exit of 9. He
sure
used
did.
every bit of track. Ooh, a little wiggle.
That little flat slide. Here, bang it down through the gears there.
Wow, I actually hung the tires over the grass on the inside at turn 12. And here comes James Houghton. Can he put the 41 TSX on pole? Across the stripe for James Houghton.
He
Yes!
does!
A 1:35.839. James Houghton is on pole for GridLife Touring Cup race number 3. What a drive.
That was just a joy to watch that lap. Attacking everywhere, but never too aggressive. Being willing to drop a tire here and there to the point that it was shy of robbing any speed. That was really a joy, and you were right. And folks, you think, why are we making such a big deal about fast gear shifts? But you think about it. This is a sport where positions can be decided by thousandths, let alone hundredths of a second. And each gear shift, if you're a little slow on it, that could be a hundredth every shift, and that adds up.
It really can. With GLTC Shootout complete, we're going to step away for just a few moments, and we'll be back with, I think we're up now to our third qualifying for Track Battle. That's what's on track now. We'll be back in just a moment for more coverage. If you're on YouTube, we'll meet you over on the next broadcast link. If you're on Twitch or Facebook, hang tight. We'll be back in a moment.
On the track, bred on the mountains, raised on the podium, ready for anything and everything. Learn more about our entire line at falcontire.com.
Owning a car can be expensive. It can also be confusing. What? And when things don't go right, there's no doubt it could be frustrating. But it can also be a lot of fun. And for those reasons, FCP Hero exists. Check this out. Do you and your car a favor and head over to fcphero.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Chris Forsberg, and when it comes to classics and high-performance cars, I only trust America's #1 racing oil, Valvoline VR1. It's built on Valvoline's long legacy in racing, so I can continue to build my own. With 2 times more zinc than the industry standard, VR1's high-performance formula is tested on the track and trusted on the road to ensure your engine is protected from metal-to-metal contact. And I use it so much, I haven't got my car on the bottle. That's why whether I'm racing or cruising, I protect everything I drive with Valvoline. Valvoline, trusted for over 150 years.